Barry, and I get to be the host of our show called The Storytellers Showcase, where we love to bring you good stories by great tellers. Well, today it's me, so you be the judge. If you'd like to contact me, if you'd like to be on the show, if you'd like to get links to more of our shows that are up on YouTube, just email me. My email is in the credits. This story features my Uncle Ray. My dad had 4 siblings, and they were all born, and then 15 years later, my dad came along. Not expected. And so his siblings were almost like his parents. And being the baby, he was well spoiled. But anyway, this story is about my Uncle Ray. So my Uncle Ray was almost a grandfather to me. And one summer, we lived in San Francisco, my mother and father and I, and one summer they put me on a Greyhound bus and they sent me, I think I was 11 years old, and they sent me up to Lewiston, Idaho, well actually Nez Perce, Idaho, where Uncle Ray and Aunt Ina lived, and to spend the summer with them. And I was really looking forward to it. Well, when I got off that Greyhound bus and Uncle Ray and Aunt Ina met me at the bus, the first thing Aunt Ina said, she pulled me aside. She said, "Mark, nobody knows your Uncle Ray's birthday, and they'd better not find out from you." Oh my gosh, I'd never been talked to like that before. I thought I was at risk of my very life if somebody found out his birthday. And oh my goodness, well, I didn't know. I knew it was somewhere around the beginning of summer, but I didn't know exactly when Uncle Ray's birthday was. I thought I could look it up in the family Bible, I could find out. But then I thought, wait a minute, if I don't know, I can't accidentally spill the beans. So I didn't look it up. Well, that summer in that little town of Nez Perce, Idaho, oh, was I popular? Those kids, they invited me to their birthday parties. They invited me to their swimming parties. They invited me to go to the movies with them. I just felt loved and wonderful and popular, like I didn't always in San Francisco. And it was just a beautiful summer. Well, somehow, every time I was doing something with the locals, the topic of birthdays would come up. And so, Mark, when's your birthday? So, Mark, what do they do in the Barry family to celebrate birthdays? And, by the way, when is your Uncle Ray's birthday? Well, I didn't know, so I couldn't tell. But I'll share with you the reason they wanted to know. You see, Uncle Ray was a school teacher. And that town, back then, had a one-room schoolhouse. It was in a farming community. The population was very thin, and that was all they needed. In fact, for the entire 35 years that my Uncle Ray was a school teacher there, they never needed more than that one-room schoolhouse. Now, in a one-room schoolhouse, they have the smaller desks up front for the smaller kids that might need some more attention and supervision. Then they have some larger desks, and back in the back of the room, they have full-size desks. It was K through 8. Those 8th graders were 14 years old, big, strapping farm kids. They were as big as adults, and they sat in the back. And Uncle Ray knew that every one of his students was a farm kid, just like he was raised as a farm kid. He knew that these kids had chores before and after school every day. And so one of the things he decided to do, I think he invented it, he decided to make the last period of each day what he called study time. During study time, they could ask questions about their homework. They could get started on their problems or their reading or whatever they were doing, and he was there to help them. They could get started or get their homework done. And so this became a tradition. Well, Uncle Ray loved birthdays. Uncle Ray thought, if you get to have your own special day, your birthday, this is something that needs to be acknowledged. And he did. What Uncle Ray did was the day before it was one of his students' birthdays, he would go to the general store and he had a gunny sack, probably held potatoes once upon a time, and he'd take that gunny sack and he'd fill it with peanuts from the barrel. And he would take that, and when of course, he opened the schoolhouse every single morning. He went in there to turn on the potbelly stove in the winter, or open the windows in the summer, and get things opened up for the kids to arrive. Well, before anything, he had one of those big old wooden desks, huge thing, and in that big old wooden desk there was a drawer down here that was double deep. I guess it was for filing or something, but he would take that gunny sack full of peanuts and he'd put it down in that double deep drawer, close it up so nobody would know. Well, later in the day, after the school day, it was study time. He'd say study time, and everybody would start on their homework, ask some questions, whatever. And once all the students were done and doing their work quietly, Uncle Ray would reach down in there, because he knew it was your birthday, if that was the day that was your birthday. He had it on his list where kids' names and addresses and birthdays. Well, he would reach down in that double deep drawer and he would pick up peanuts. Now, Uncle Ray was a tall man, big hands, long fingers. He could carry a lot of peanuts. And he would fill his hands with as many peanuts as he possibly could. And he'd walk over to where your desk was in the classroom, and he'd throw the peanuts up in the air, and he'd shout, "Happy birthday, peanut shower!" And the peanuts would hit the ceiling and clatter all over the room, and all the kids would whoop and holler, and they'd have their peanut treats, and they'd sing happy birthday to the birthday student. This became a tradition. 35 years, Uncle Ray taught school at Nez Perce, that little town. And if you said school or you said Mr. Barry, they meant the same thing. Well, I didn't know his birthday, so I couldn't spill the beans. Fast forward, much later, I'm grown up, he's retired. We're visiting. He says, "Mark, I know you didn't tell anybody my birthday, and I appreciate that. But let me tell you what happened." As it turns out, one of his early students grew up, graduated the 8th grade, went to high school, graduated high school, went to college, graduated college, and decided to go into education was their field. And this woman got a job in Boise, Idaho at the state capitol Board of Education. Well, you know what they have in the Board of Education in the state capitol? They've got a filing drawer that has a little file folder on every teacher in the state of Idaho. Uncle Ray said, "Boy, the phones in Nez Perce must have been busy that afternoon, all except the Barry phone. Ours was quiet." And it turns out that his birthday was late in May, right before the end of the school year. 35 years he taught school and got away with it, and not this last year. What a surprise. So here he is on his birthday, happened to be on a school day, right before the end of the year, right before he retires forever. And he's teaching along and having their day. They get to the end of the day, and he starts to say, study time. Couldn't even get it out. When he said he said the whole world went black with there were that many peanuts in the air being thrown at me. He said, "I don't know how those kids got that many peanuts in that classroom. They must have filled their galoshes and their jacket pockets and their desks. How did they get that many peanuts in that room?" He said, "Before I could say study time, here I was hit with an avalanche of peanuts, a hurricane of peanuts, and the little kids up in front, they were tossing them in the air. Those big kids in the back, they were throwing them like they were baseballs." And he said, "If I hadn't had that heavy binder to put up in front of my face, I think they might have killed me. As it was, the force of the peanuts rolled me, and that heavy oak chair on the casters rolled me back against the blackboard at the back of the room." And now you know everything there is to know about the last peanut shower there ever was in that little town of Nez Perce, Idaho.